Hello there, Luciano Oliveira, Oliveira Lawyers. Today is Sunday, August 11th, 3:30 Rio de Janeiro time. Happy Father's Day from Brazil for those who are in Brazil or who those have family in Brazil. Today is Father's Day. I know it is not in the United States and in other countries, but it is in Brazil, and therefore extending my congratulations to all the fathers around. I can see we have, all right, I can see we have already some participation going on here at the chat. Didi, good afternoon. Welcome, Didi. Many Moon Acres, good afternoon, boa tarde. Welcome back, Many Moon. Good to see you. All right, Didi says, hello, Mr. Oliveira. What is the typical cost to hire service for a reinstatement of a Brazilian citizenship? I was quoted by another Brazilian lawyer. His starting fee is 8,000 American dollars. Thank you so much for sharing, DD. Like sometimes people have a somewhat unrealistic expectation when it comes to legal fees in Brazil. I understand Brazilian currency is like a kind of not comparable to the US dollar, to euros, and so on. But for professional services in Brazil, costs are actually comparable to what you would see in the United States. Of course, not like by California or New York standards, but still professional fees, or let's say quality professional fees, are actually much higher than what foreign citizens come to believe for some reason, right? Like, I mean, they see so many things that are way cheaper in Brazil than they are elsewhere, and they naturally are going to assume that should be the same case for professional services, but it is not. Now, the good news is we try to work with, like in-house workflows, and because of the volume, we are able usually to offer better fees than what you would see in let's say, more traditional or classic type of law firms in Brazil. So if you saw 8,000 US dollars, our firm, and this is done by a separate department. Usually this is discussed with Justin. Justin, she takes care of our onboarding department, but I believe it would be around 2,500. Okay, so basically one third of the fee that you saw elsewhere, but it's really nice sharing because it helps me address how competitive our fees actually are. Thank you so much for sharing, Didi. All right, Hunter Edwards. Welcome, Hunter. So far, I can only show 1 month of income from my work contract. Do I still need to wait another 2 months before I can apply for the digital nomad visa if I already have 18,000 in my account? Hunter, you're probably talking about the digital nomad visa requirement for showing your financials. And yes, we like the approach of using bank statements to show your financials. And whenever you're working with the 18,000 route, usually 1 month of a bank statement is gonna be available. So good news for you. Now, a couple of details for you to pay attention to. The first one, we're talking about the consolidated month bank statement. So you're not going to do like an activity printout of your account and expect the Brazilian immigration to accept that. They need to see the specific bank statement that you're going to get after the end of the month. All right, don't send like intermediary stuff. Make sure that you're going to get like a PDF printout properly formatted to deliver to the Brazilian immigration. All right, I've seen all types of crazy things like with applicants in the past. I saw people sending a printout of the activities for a specific period of time. So this is not a bank statement. That's just a printout of your activities. Another thing, there was actually a sad to see, and it was actually with a client of ours, like he was presenting, and it was just, it was beyond not presenting a monthly statement. He was sending a printout of the activities, and on top of that, he was showing like he had available like $3,000, and he was like the total balance was showing 19, and he was kind of pushing our staff to understand or to accept or to say to the Brazilian immigration that he actually had 19,000, right? Like, I mean, so unfortunately, some foreign citizens, they say, well, people over there, they don't know how things work in the United States. So let's just, tell a story and push them to play along, right? So I had to intervene and say, listen, you just have it $3,000, right? You may have a check in the works, but your current balance is not 19, it's 3,000 US dollars. And if the analysts from the Brazilian immigration, if they realize what you're trying to do, right, basically deceiving your lawyer and trying to deceive the Brazilian immigration, that's not going to be good for you. So let's wait until not only you have the 18,000 in the bank account, but also present a proper consolidated monthly statement. All right, and the client, I was glad that the client understood the message, and then after a while. He came back with the consolidated monthly bank statement, and everything was signed. But just sharing some nuances of the bank statement that you need to present. WS Bill, good to see you, Bill. Oi, Luciano, como você está? Yes, happy Father's Day to you. Do you remember the Goiânia accident, fall 1987? How far away from you is that in Brazil? Yes, Bill. Bill is sharing about it was an accident like fall 1987. So Goiânia is a few states north of São Paulo, or northwest of Rio de Janeiro, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if you know, Bill, but we just had there was on Friday we have a horrible air crash. And it was actually in São Paulo, okay? It was like in São Paulo. Whenever I see in the news, they say São Paulo countryside, but it's not really São Paulo countryside. It's actually the suburbs of São Paulo, so it's still São Paulo, and it was a horrible air crash. I believe, I'm not sure if it was 61 people or 66 people died in this air crash. And it is, I think, on the New York Times, it is everywhere. Everybody's talking about this horrific air crash. Yes, DD is following. My heart goes out to the people and family of those who lost their life. Airplane crash in São Paulo. Exactly, DD. That was very sad. And I actually lived for several years in the city of Vinhedo. That's the name of the city. Again, news, they are saying it's like countryside of the state. Is actually just a 50-minute drive once you reach the road outside of São Paulo. Is roughly like 45 minutes drive. So it's more like the suburbs of São Paulo. I used to live in that particular city. But yes, my heart goes out as well to those. And yes, that's what happened. All right, just sharing another topic, like for those who are in Brazil, trying to stay a little bit longer. Some nationalities, they are able to file for an extension of their stay as long as you file before the 90 days expire. Okay, that's available. Particularly to foreign citizens from countries such as the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and so on. So once you are 80 days or 85 days in the country, you can actually apply online. You can apply online for an extension application, and then you need to pay a fee at the Banco do Brasil, and finally you need to show up at a scheduled day and time to present yourself to the Brazilian Federal Police and hopefully have a good reason for you to ask for the extension. Okay, until last year, more specifically November of 2023, whenever you would ask for an extension, the extension would be pretty much rubber stamped by the Brazilian Federal Police that was more in line with the prior federal administration. Now President Lula has a little bit more strict approach to foreign citizens in Brazil, and therefore we have notice of people being denied an extension whenever they show up with just this type of explanation. I want to stay longer in Brazil. Okay, not surprisingly, some Brazilian immigration officers, they are not going to be satisfied with this explanation alone, and they are going to deny the extension. So, just try to have something a little bit more compelling, okay? And just, a couple of examples, like if you had some type of, like a recent health issue in Brazil and you need to have some additional resting, or if you are applying for the digital nomad visa and you're still gathering the documents, anything that could make sense from like an official petition for an extension, it should be helpful. All right. We have a Jonathan Macmillan. Welcome, Jonathan. Welcome back. Olá, Luciano. Boa tarde. Boa tarde to all of you. Jonathan, I'm just curious. Are you in Brazil as you speak? Are you in the United States? I'm curious where you are in your journey. It has been a while since I last see you in our consultation, but I'm curious to know where you are in your journey, Jonathan. Sean Dunn, welcome, Sean. Sean is asking what is the requirement and or procedures to buy an apartment or a condominium in a new development. Sean, so there are, like many points of attention. I would say my recommendation whenever people are interested in buying pre-development properties, right? So this is very common in Brazil. Like there is a developer, they have a really nice plan to build a new apartment complex, and they are going to set up like a sample unit on the ground floor, and then they are going to try to sell as many units as they can up front in order for you to help to fund the construction. The upside is that you are going to be able to buy something in a new building and hopefully at a discounted price. Many times you can get like a price that's going to be better than the price that other people are going to have, like once the building is ready. Maybe you're going to have a 15% or sometimes even a 20% discount. This is like mostly the upside. You can also pay in installments during the construction stage of the development. Once the property is ready, they are not going to give you the key though unless you pay off the balance. But during the construction stage, you can also pay in installments. A couple of downsides. The first downside is that there is always some level of risk. I mean, this thing is never 100% guaranteed because, as you see, the developer is gathering money when they are building the thing, right? So you are helping to finance, they are getting money from other people, and they are running a business. And whenever companies or people, they're running a business, there is never a guarantee that they are going to succeed in what they are planning to do, right? So in my experience, I've seen that like the more traditional developers, the developers that have been in the market for 10, 20, 30 years, they of course tend to deliver what they are selling. Newer or more, recent developers, I'm kind of concerned, right? So whenever I buy myself pre-construction properties, I'm gonna stick to a few developers that have been in the market for 20, 30 years, right? That's my approach. But still, just think that, if there is a new global war, I guarantee that probably 90% or maybe 100% of the developers are not going to deliver what they are building as we speak, which I think it's kind of common sense, but just highlighting that whenever you buy a pre-construction property, there is a very high probability that you're going to get it, but nobody is guaranteeing. All right, so these are just some of the aspects of buying pre-construction properties in Brazil, Sean. If you want to know more about a specific development that you're targeting, or, like paperwork that you're going to need to present, differences between, signing a purchase agreement and the closing later on, we can discuss more as we go along. All right, DD, can I apply for reinstatement of citizenship through your office while I am in the United States? Do I still have to be in Brazil for any of the process, as you mentioned, with federal police? DD, it's difficult for me to say, okay? And I'm gonna tell you why. Listen, I don't even know if you lost your citizenship, right? It's super common for people to come to our firm and say, well, I lost the citizenship, like I don't have a passport. I applied for another citizenship and therefore they revoked mine. And then when we actually review the case, we find out that the person continues to be a Brazilian. Super common here at the firm, okay, Didi? So I cannot tell what's going to be your path. Now, if you actually lost your citizenship, which is kind of rare, by the way, and we need to reapply, there is a good chance we would need to file a federal lawsuit to petition before a federal judge for your citizenship, right? Not necessarily the reinstatement, but we could apply for a new one. In some cases, yes, there is the reinstatement, but there are about 6 different type of situations when it comes to citizenship for those who have some type of, either a family relationship to Brazil, or if they had a citizenship in some instance. So we will need to review your case, Didi, to know if you would need you to be in Brazil or not. Usually when you have to be in Brazil, that's not like forever, but that's usually in the event that a Brazilian judge is going to ask you to show up at a hearing. That's a possibility. Or if the Brazilian judge requires you to be a resident of Brazil. So at least for some period of time, if that happens, you should be in Brazil to qualify as a resident, okay? Just to give you one of the 6 types of situations I just told you, one situation is like this. You have a Brazilian parent, but for some reason, your Brazilian parent never recorded your birth certificate at a Brazilian consulate. And when they don't do that before you are 18 years of age, you cannot simply record later on and become a Brazilian citizen. On top of doing all the recording for your birth certificate in Brazil, along with showing proof that one of your parents is a Brazilian, you're going to need to petition before a federal court for the citizenship. And in this particular case, when we file the petition, we need to tell the judge that you are residing in Brazil, because that's one of the requirements. You need to be an adult, older than 18. You need to have all your paperwork recorded in Brazil, in a Brazilian registry, like your birth certificates and other stuff. And you need to be a resident of Brazil. And therefore, we cannot tell the judge that you are a resident of Brazil if you're not even in Brazil. Okay, Didi. So just, to throw some information out there, I think that the bottom line over here is that there is not a single route or a single type of case in which you're going to pursue the reinstatement of your citizenship, but there are several different scenarios that we would need to review more carefully. Many Moon Acres, Feliz Dia dos Pais, Senhor Oliveira. Thank you so much, Many Moon. Really appreciate it. Jonathan says he is in the United States. All right, Jonathan, looking to buy a property and apply for Golden Brazil visa this year and moving to Brazil. There you go, Jonathan. That's very good for you. Jonathan, I don't recall, are you from the military or not? I mean, we have so many clients from the military. They usually pursue the retirement route, but we also have people from the military buying, properties, acquiring residency through marriage, and so on. But yes, it sounds like a plan. I hope you succeed, Jonathan, and when the time comes, we're going to be pleased to assist you with the Golden Visa as well as buying the property. Just keep in mind that the process to apply for the Brazil Golden Visa starts even before you buy the property. You don't buy the property and then you apply for the Golden Visa. You actually need to buy a fully compliant property, and you need to buy this fully compliant property in a fully compliant manner, right? So the Golden Visa actually starts when you are about to buy the property. Just keep that in mind. Dana Jones, welcome back, Dana. Is it possible to apply for a student visa while you're already in Brazil, or would someone have to go back home and then apply through the consulate? Dana, Brazil, at least from this perspective, is very accommodating, because most of the visas that are out there, they are also accessible when you are physically in Brazil, and that's exactly the case for the student visa. Just, it's a silly distinction, it's more like technical stuff, but whenever you apply in Brazil, the Brazilian Federal Police, immigration attorneys in general, but that's just technical stuff. They don't like the word visa, because in theory, a visa cannot be issued in Brazil. A visa is always issued abroad. And therefore, if you are applying for the student visa while you're physically in Brazil, you are actually applying for residency truth study, okay? Again, just a silly technical distinction, but the good news for you, Dana, is that yes, you can apply for your residency in Brazil truth study, and that's something that you can do while you're in Brazil. You don't need to go back elsewhere to apply through a consulate. Heads up, some of the documents that you're going to need to present, they are going to actually have to come from abroad, but particularly if you work with a firm like ours, we can actually help you get those documents. For instance, you're going to need a birth certificate with an apostille from your state, in the state in which you were born. So let's say if you were born in California, you need a somewhat recent birth certificate. It gotta be a hard copy, it cannot be a digital copy, and on top of this birth certificate, you're gonna need an apostille. So if you are in Brazil, in our experience, sometimes it's difficult for you to get those things done in the United States, but that's why we have an office in Texas that's exactly to assist our clients, particularly in the United States, with procedures in the US while the applicant is still in Brazil. I see here Marisa Navas. So good to see you guys over here. Marisa and Ricardo, they are family, they are friends, and they help me so much whenever I need it, right? They are gonna be waiting for me in Portugal for our next videos being recorded in Portugal, and hopefully some live stream in Lisbon as well. So good to see you guys. Many Moon Acres. Can my sons ages 25 and 26 who live with me and are my tax dependents in the U.S. Due to medical issues be included in my Viper application? If not, is family reunification visa an option? Obrigada. Many moons. So first thing, like the Viper, like the Brazilian immigration, they will never allow you to include anyone else in the Viper unless they are covered by the minimum amount required. Okay, so there is no way for you to include dependents in a Viper application per se. However, the family reunification, it's exactly what you would need to use to allow family members to join you in Brazil. Okay, and this is sometimes we can do that at the same time. So you are applying for the Viper. For you, if you're buying a property for multiple times the minimum requirement, the minimum financial requirement, then yes, you can have multiple people under the Viper application. But if you're just reaching a one-time amount for the Viper, then it's gonna be just you. And then yes, you will need to petition. You will need to petition for your children to join you under the family reunification. All right. Now, you're saying they are dependents due to medical issues. There is a very good chance. There is a very good chance you would succeed, but it's not guaranteed, because whenever we apply with the Brazilian immigration, like it's guaranteed if they are under 18th, then I can tell you, unless there is something wrong with criminal records or something crazy like this, they are gonna get it right. Now, if they are older than 18th, then it's on a best effort basis, meaning we can apply, but of course it's not guaranteed. But based on the specifics that you're sharing, I would say you have a good shot at it. All right, Jonathan is confirming, yes, military. Good to know, Jonathan. My memory is still working. And yes, we're very proud to take good care of the U.S. military in Brazil. I see Moses. Welcome back, Moses. It has been a while. I know that Moses is in his journey to acquire real estate in Brazil. Good to see over here, Moses. Dana Jonas, thanks, Mr. Oliveira. Awesome stream as always. Thank you, Dana. I really appreciate the kind words. All right, so we were talking about the extension. Just a heads up, many European countries, they don't have access to the Brazilian extension route, probably because of the European Union bloc not allowing Brazil or not allowing Brazilians to get an extension in Europe. That's the reciprocity. That's the Brazilian President Lula's a signature move. Like, if you don't give us an extension, you don't get an extension as well. And it's interesting to note that the United States, it does require a visa, and it makes very difficult for Brazilians to get a visa to the United States. But at the same time, the United States, believe it or not, the United States makes it super easy for Brazilians to apply for an extension while in the United States. As long as you play by the rules, the United States make it super easy for Brazilians to apply for an extension. And therefore, that's why U.S. citizens, when they are in Brazil, they can apply easily for an extension for an additional 90 days. But if you're from Europe, chances are you're not gonna be able to get an extension while you're in Brazil. All right, Didi, thank you, Mr. Oliveira. Happy Father's Day. Thank you so much, Didi. Bill, as always, helping us with our live streams. Bill says, please click the like. I appreciate Bill. I appreciate all of you. If you are here with us today, Father's Day, do me a favor and click on that like button. This is going to be helpful for our channel. This is going to be helpful for other people looking for this kind of content. I really appreciate Bill, and I really appreciate all of you. All right, follow-up question by Dana. Dana, what are the possibilities of skipping consultation and just hiring your firm? I am close enough to Houston to get my documents reviewed before moving on to Austin. For apostille, I want to begin my adventure. Of course, that's super common, Dana. So you don't need to have a consultation. You can just hire us. Okay, nobody's going to say you cannot hire us if you don't have a consultation. What happens is when people have questions and they send questions to us, like in a format that would constitute a consultation. That's why we tell you, listen, you need to get a consultation for that. Okay, but if you need advisory in the scope of a visa application, you are more than welcome to hire our services. And as soon as you hire, then you have an open channel to have as many questions, as many calls, as many Zoom calls with our team as needed. And this is super common to happen for people to say, listen, I don't need any consultation. I want to get started right away. And of course, we are happy to get you on board. All right, Donna? So just send an email. I know you've been in touch with our team before. Just say, listen, I want to get started right away. They're going to take good care of you, and I'm going to make sure you get all that you need to accomplish your goals. Moses, good afternoon, sir. I have a question. If I already have a purchased property worth $100,000 from two different developers, how much will you charge me to process my investment visa for a family of 3? All right. So is this like 100? Is it 100,000 reais, Moses? Because two properties worth 100,000 reais from two different developers, that would be 200,000 reais, which does not meet the minimum requirement, right? So, or maybe you're talking about two properties worth 100,000 US dollars each, and if that's the case, yes, then that would mean like over 1 million reais. And then if the properties were bought in a compliant manner, Moses, our fee for the real estate investment visa is just 1,250 US dollars. Pretty affordable, right? That's for the main applicant. And then for your family, there would be an additional charge for each of them, potentially under the family reunification visa. But again, our service is super affordable. I'm very glad that DD shared how much another attorney would charge him, like $8,000 for a service that we charge $2,500. Okay, and this other attorney, I guarantee he's not like working on Father's Day to share knowledge with the community. But what I'm saying is like our fees are pretty competitive, right? I see Moses is complimenting 1 million reais. Yes, so 1,250 US dollars. That's our fee for the Viper application. Again, considering that you have compliant paperwork. All right, Moses. I hope that helps. Donna is confirming beginning adventure by the end of September. So you are already past time, Donna. You should have some support. It's very difficult, particularly, correct me if I'm wrong, Donna, but you were asking questions about the retirement visa. The retirement visa, it's probably the visa requiring most documents apostilled from all routes. Even, believe it or not, even the golden visa doesn't need as many documents apostilled as the retirement route does. So you need some help, Donna. Get started with the service so we can make sure you're not going to be missing any documents, all right? Jonathan McMillan, can your U.S. offices help apply for green cards for U.S. visit for new wife and daughters? That's an interesting question, Jonathan. Yes, we are assisting, particularly with the fiancé visa. I'm sure you heard about it. What happens is that many times, and I'm not talking about your case, I don't even know if it is your case, but in many situations, like the Brazilian fiancé, the Brazilian fiancé cannot get a visitor visa to go to the United States, and that's unfortunately common because it's very difficult for us Brazilians to get a visa to the United States. So it's not uncommon. The U.S. person finds, like, a partner in Brazil. The U.S. person wants to bring this Brazilian partner to Brazil, but the Brazilian partner does not qualify for a visitor visa. And therefore, the only route for this U.S. person is to apply. Actually, there are two routes. One is for straight to the green card based on marriage. That's one of the two routes. The second route is for the U.S. person to apply for a fiancé visa, which is good for 90 days, because then the U.S. person can bring the Brazilian national to the United States, and then once the Brazilian national is in the United States, they can marry, and then they can apply for a change of status. So the fiancé visa is going to give the Brazilian national just 90 days in the U.S., but as long as there is a marriage within the 90 days, the next step is for the U.S. National to apply for the conversion of the fiancé visa into a green card. Okay, that's super common. We have other clients, so we don't work with the full range of U.S. visa framework because there are so many options. But because we have a lot of clients, buying property in Brazil, getting residency in Brazil, and eventually wanting to bring a Brazilian national to the United States, we do handle actually both routes. The fiancé visa, which is usually my recommendation because it's a lower hanging fruit, very difficult for the U.S. Consulates to deny. It's easier for the U.S. consulate to deny when the person applies straight to the green card. So my recommendation: apply for the fiancé visa first, and then once the person is in the U.S., this person can convert the fiancé visa into a green card. All right, that's my recommendation. And if you need it, Jonathan, we're gonna be pleased to help you with that. Okay. All right. Donna says thank you. Donna says thank you. Yeah, and confirm it's a retirement route. Yeah, Donna. So that's pretty good. A very good upside of the retirement route is that Brazil is actually considering the possibility of the retirement visa or slash residency to become a permanent residency in just 4 years. Okay. And after the 4 years, in addition for you, Donna, to secure the permanent residency, as long as you learn Portuguese, which I'm sure you're going to be learning in a snap, you also should be able to apply for the Brazilian citizenship. So there you go, Donna. It's a tough visa to get it, but once you get it, you're going to be able to secure some very interesting things, such as the permanent residency or the Brazilian citizenship if you want. This is not going to be available, for instance, if you're following the student route or if you're following the digital nomad route. Okay, so pretty specific for the retirement visa, and of course it's also available for the Viper/Golden visa, which is another higher level immigration route in Brazil. All right, Jonathan McMillan says, obrigado, Luciano. You're pretty welcome, Jonathan. Always good to see you over here. Let me see what else we have in our chat. All right, if you can please like our live stream. I see here the number of visitors we have had in this live stream is substantially higher than the number of likes. So if you didn't like already, I will appreciate it if you can do it now. Again, that's going to help us with our channel and content, and it also helps other fellow expat and foreign citizens to find this content in the near future. Let me take a minute to apologize to some of you, one of you being Bill. I apologize for the issue we had last Wednesday when we had the Levi Borba in our channel. For some reason, it was recording and it was streaming, but for some reason, YouTube was not like showing live the content. So it was very. I'm glad that we had actually the content being recorded, and we just uploaded the entire episode. It was about an hour as usual. We just uploaded to YouTube. So now I'm going to be sharing the link with you guys on the chat, and you can check the entire interview. Levi has a very different take on some of the same subjects we discuss here often, and he has discussed this concept of geo arbitrage. Geo arbitrage, for those of you who do not know, basically it means you make money in one country and you spend in a different country, right? So you're gonna, of course, get your money in a country that has a very strong currency and economy like the United States, and then you're gonna spend in a country like Brazil that doesn't have, the same currency, right? Brazil is also very powerful economically. For those who do not know, Brazil is one of the largest economies in the globe, right? Usually number 12, number 13. Believe it or not, we were once like number 9, but I believe now we are between 12 and 14th. But listen, we are one of the largest economies in the globe. Okay, Brazil, yes, correct, Brazil. So the geo arbitrage things, the geo arbitrage approach means you get your money, in Europe, or you get your money in the United States or in another country in which you have a very strong currency, and then you're going to spend in Brazil, and this is going to represent a really big opportunity for you, because you're going to be able, to live a much better life, not only from a financial perspective, but when you are in Brazil, like you're going to be able to build connections, like personal connections. You're going to be able to visit places in which you've never been before. There are so many upsides, and many of those upsides, they were discussed in this live stream with our friend Levi Borba. So make sure to take a look at this video. I'm sure you're going to learn something there. And again, thank you for the patience, Bill, and other friends. All right, Many Moon Acres, can you please explain duration of temporary residency? 2 years, visa for Viper, and permanent residency and citizenship can be acquired. Yes, of course, Many Moon. So the 2 years, the temporary residency of 2 years is usually under a different type of visa, such as the retirement. Okay, so for the retirement, you usually get a couple of years. Okay, sometimes they're going to give you 1 year. They never give you 4 years. All right, for retirement, it's going to be either 1 or 2 years, and then you can renew that as well. Now, for the Viper, the standard is for you to get 4 years right off the bat. And then after you've been in Brazil for those 4 years, or better saying, like about 90 days before you completed the 4 years, you're going to apply for the renewal of your residency Many Moon. And then you're going to get actually usually either 10 years or the undetermined which is the Brazilian term for permanent residency. Okay, so first 4 years is actually a temporary residency, not for 2 years, but actually for 4 years, and there you're gonna get the more permanent residency, right? And Brazil doesn't like to say permanent residency, is more like a city technical distinction, because if you sell the property, guess what? They can take this away, and they think if they tell you it's permanent, they cannot do so. I think it's just a city distinction. In the United States, for instance, the green card is the permanent residency, and if you do something silly, they take this thing away. No concern with the word permanent. But for some reason, in Brazil, we are concerned with the word permanent, and therefore, technically, we call it the undetermined, okay? But the concept is just like a permanent residency. All right, minimum, I hope that makes sense. It's like 4 years, then you renew, and then it becomes like a permanent residency. And nowadays, the idea is that after you've been in Brazil for 4 years, you could apply potentially for the citizenship under the regular citizenship track, which says you should be in Brazil for at least 4 years. And when you apply, they also want to make sure that you've been physically in Brazil for at least 3 years out of the 4 years. So you need to wait for 4 years. And once you trigger the 4 years, they are going to look at how much time you actually spent in Brazil. And you should have been in Brazil physically for no less than 3 years. All right, minimums. WS Bill, I appreciate all that you do. Thank you so much for the kind words, Bill. I also appreciate your support here at the channel. Marisa Navas says, Feliz Dia dos Pais, Dr. Luciana, Marisa e Ricardo. Pretty kind of you. I see here the Portugal flag. Yes, excited to meet you guys next week in Portugal, Marisa and Ricardo. Really nice flag, Portugal flag. Didi, is it possible that the U.S. currency in Brazil will be eliminated in the future, as some are retiring from the U.S. and depending on Social Security? All right, is it possible that the U.S. currency in Brazil will be eliminated in the future, as some are retiring from the U.S. and depending on Social Security? Didi, I'm not sure if I follow your question. U.S. currency in Brazil will be eliminated. You're saying that maybe the requirement of the 2,000 US dollars, Didi, I apologize. If you could just rephrase your question to make sure I understand exactly what you're saying, so I can give you a proper answer, Didi. Do me this favor. Moses, as a foreigner, if I use my friend who's a permanent resident in Brazil as a representative in purchasing property, will my property be indicated if he's not indicted, if he's involved in any crime in the future? Yeah, by a representative, Moses, I'm going to assume, let's say you're going to give a power of attorney, and this person would be attending a closing on your behalf, right? Moses, being that you are a foreigner, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't sound to me a good idea to use a friend as a power of attorney holder, okay? We have another case here at the firm with very similar specifics, right? This person, she's from the U.S. She bought a property in the countryside of Rio de Janeiro state, and it was the very same story. I have a friend, a really close friend. This person is going to represent me in the closing, and now, a few years of fast forwarding, like, she's suing everyone. She's suing the friend, she's suing the seller, and she came to us, right? Like, I mean, there was no way to resolve her matter other than suing everybody, okay? Because when you approach people, they're very happy. Maybe you are, offering some money, to sweeten the representation, but then things go south. The person doesn't know the law, things don't occur as expected, and everything doesn't work. Hell breaks loose. I do not recommend Moses, okay? Even if the person doesn't have any crime in the future, I'm not sure how the Brazilian immigration would look at this, because you would have to send your money to your friend. Your friend would need to pay the seller. I don't like the structure, Moses. I think it's very risky, and I think there is a very high chance that you would not get the Viper in the future, okay? All right, Donna, I can still do the fingerprints there, correct? In Brazil. You say in Brazil or in the United States, Donna? In the United States, super easy. You just get a service provider. It could be something like, Identigo or another service provider. It couldn't be easier for you to get the FBI background check through fingerprint done. Okay, it couldn't be easy. Now, in Brazil, we are doing that successfully in our two offices, Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo. Yes, if you are in Brazil, you gotta come either to São Paulo or Rio de Janeiro. If you are in a different city, what we can do, we can send you like the FBI forms. We have the FBI forms at the office, like the official ones, all right? It's not a printout, it's not a photocopy. We have the official FBI background check forms in our offices, São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. If you show up, we're gonna take your fingerprints in person on top of our traditional cafezinho, right? The coffee you're gonna have with our team while you're in the office. You have some coffee, you have a chat with our folks, and we're gonna do your fingerprints. And then once we have this form, we actually send to our office in Texas. Our office in Texas is gonna process the FBI forms with the FBI. After that, the forms, actually not the forms, but the reports from the FBI, they are sent to Washington, D.C. for the apostille on the report. This is sent back to Brazil, and then in Brazil, we present the entire paperwork through your application at the Brazilian immigration. But there was an interesting question, Donna. Yes, we are doing that as we speak in both our Rio de Janeiro and in our São Paulo office. Rony Dio, boa tarde. Happy Father's Day. All right, thank you so much, Rony. Happy Father's Day to you as well. DB, all right, good to see you, DB. E aí, cara, tudo bem, DB? Good to see you. Jonathan Macmillan, happy Father's Day. Thank you, Jonathan. DD says, Brazil and other nations are talking to eliminate the US dollar. What effects will that have for someone who's retiring in Brazil getting Social Security from the US? So now I follow, Didi. Thank you for clarifying. So the idea is not to eliminate the US dollar, is to actually stop using the US as the global reference, right? Like the framework. Now Brazil, for all the Brazilian obligations abroad, everything is based on US dollars. The US dollar is the official currency when someone is sending money from Brazil to abroad. So everything needs to be converted into US dollar first and then go elsewhere, right? So President Lula, he has these antiques. He has, these issues with the United States, right? Like, like I support many of President Lula's policies, but, this kind of animosity against the United States, I do not support for sure. I think it's counterproductive, and I think it's just mean, right? Like he's just being a mean person, right? Like based on his history, on other people from from his party, and I do not support that at all. Okay, but I do like some of his policies, like the reciprocity approach to immigration. I think it's well thought. I think he tries to bring like a different view for Brazil, not as a third world country, but as a player that should be as well respected as any other country, either the United States or countries in Europe. They are and they should be at the same level of Brazil. That's President Lula's take on foreign policy that I support. I really like it, but this idea of saying that we're gonna work with like a Chinese currency as our standard from now on, I think is just unrealistic, and I also think it's not constructive at all. All right, so Didi, I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon, maybe in 50 years from now. Let's not worry about that. It's just like maybe a leverage tool that Brazil is using to squeeze more favors out of the United States, all right? That's my personal opinion. Minimum Acres, muito obrigado pela explicação clara. Esse canal me dá esperança de construir uma vida nova no Brasil. Thank you for your support, for your kind words, Minimum. Minimum is saying that our channel is supportive and it gives her hope of building a new life in Brazil. So glad to hear, Minimum. Make sure you come back for our next live streams. And by the way, we are approaching the end of today's live stream. I want to tell you that this coming Wednesday, we're not going to have a live stream. Possibly we're going to have a live stream on Sunday. Okay, so keep an eye open for the notification on our YouTube channel for next Sunday, not for this Wednesday. This Wednesday, we're not going to have a live stream, but most probably than not on Sunday. All right, I want to wish all of you a blessed rest of your Sunday. For those of you who are in Brazil, happy Father's Day. For those who are abroad but have some connection to Brazil, happy Father's Day as well. And I hope to see you next Sunday. You guys enjoy your day.